Of course, I found my ideas on Pinterest. My nails have grown out. My favorite little drop. Everything is clean and shiny. I'll be extending the free edge using builder gel. Wide forms are for making sure I don't overdo it. Little pencil stubs like these. Good day! My name is Maria Petrova, and today I want to talk to you about Korean designs. Recently, Korean manicure has become a household name, and Korean designs themselves have become insanely popular. Of course, I found the idea for today's design on Pinterest, and I want to show you my adaptation of Korean manicure. I didn't follow it word for word, but rather took inspiration from Korean designs, borrowing interesting lines and unusual elements from them. And my model came to me with completely natural nails, having gone without any coating for a long time. The cuticles have grown out and the nails have grown longer. We're going to tidy up all this beauty. First of all, I slightly file the free edge, narrowing it a bit more because I prefer restoring a square shape from a more tapered form. That way, I'll have space to lay the material along the side walls. Next, I buff the surface with a soft buffer and start the manicure. With an orange stick, I gently push back the cuticle, opening up the pocket so that I can comfortably work with the bit and avoid any unpleasant sensations later on. And the first bit I use is my favorite, a small drop-shaped bit, 0.3 millimeters in diameter, with a red stripe. I've long since switched from flame bits to this little one. It's very convenient for both opening the pocket and turning out the cuticle. I gently lift the turned out cuticle upwards so that it will be easier for me to trim it with nippers later. As a technician who started out with classic cut manicure, I still find it more comfortable to work with nippers rather than scissors. At the end, I always polish the cut with my current favorite bit, a 2.5 millimeter diameter micro bit with a yellow notch. Make sure to thoroughly remove all the dust before moving on to the next step. Everything is clean, radiant, beautiful, neat, and without any cuts. As a base, I use ecru rubber base. I will be extending the free edge using polygel in this beautiful coral shade number 03. I find it most convenient to work with polygel using an orange stick and regular pharmacy-grade ethyl alcohol. The stick doesn't stick to the material and allows you to distribute it very precisely and neatly. What do I love about polygel besides its amazing color palette? Because this material spreads perfectly and allows you to create a seamless transition between the product and the natural nail. It is completely static, doesn't run or spread, which means you can create a very precise shape with minimal filing, build up the corners, work with the border technique and extend the nail bed using the sculpted French technique. A universal and really cool material. If you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend you do. Perhaps many people will comment under this video that this step could have easily been done using dual forms. Well, maybe, but I'm just more used to doing it the old-fashioned way, by hand. You know, I like to control the process myself. If you know what I mean, not relying on any extra tools. Now we move on to the intermediate filing stage. First, we file the sides and the tip to determine the thickness and our shape. The next step is to even out the surface. A fine 240 grit file works perfectly for me because polygel is very easy to file. For me, as a former acrylic nail technician, it's honestly a real treat that there are now such pliable, easy to use and easy to file materials compared to acrylic. I can't even remember the last time I used a 180 grit file, let alone a 100 grit one. After filing the surface, we lift the lower parallels so they're parallel to the lateral axis of the finger. Be sure to buff everything thoroughly even at this stage to hide the filing edges and create a really smooth transition between the polygel and the natural nail. This is done to prevent lifting of the hard material in the area of the sidewalls. Look at the beauty we've achieved. You could easily leave it like this. But we've decided to take it a step further. I'm taking shade number 23 of the high viscosity KONFITYUR gel and using a thin brush to draw these voluminous, wide elements. The elements should be both wide and tall. That's why I gradually pick up gel on the thin brush and shape exactly what I need. I fill the remaining empty space on the nail with other voluminous elements, this time a bit smaller in size. My lines are almost vertical, which will visually lengthen and slightly elongate the nail. This is the kind of height we get, so that later it can be filed down beautifully. And once again, I go over with an orange stick, pushing back the cuticle, because next I will be applying a dark red color right up to the cuticle. Ideally, the color should be dense but applied in a thin layer. I cover the entire nail, carefully going along the sidewalls to create an even line, because this stage needs to be done perfectly. The next color I'll use is a coral red, close to the color of our gel or polygel. I also apply it under the cuticle and very carefully paint the side walls as well. Naturally, I help myself with a fine brush during the process. And to top off all this beauty, I'll unexpectedly use shade 81 of the Low-Viscosity KONFITYUR gel, a delicate lilac color. Low-viscosity confiture gels spread very quickly and very easily. Thanks to their incredibly liquid consistency yet dense pigmentation, these gels are perfect for fast work. I deliberately didn't speed up or cut the video process so you could see for yourself how quickly and precisely you can work with this liquid material. It's better not to take a large drop of material at once, but to add it gradually so you don't end up with too much, and so that this very liquid, low-viscosity confiture gel doesn't run away from you. What do you think of this kind of sculpting without filing? Oh, what a beautiful, delicious, sweet little pastry. But jokes aside, of course, we won't leave it like this. We remove the sticky layer and move on to my favorite stage, the e-file shaping. In general, when it comes to voluminous elements that need to be filed or 3D designs, you just can't do without e-file shaping. And the process of revealing these colored layers, bringing out the elements and the design itself is just so mesmerizing. Why do I love these voluminous designs so much? Because they always turn out unpredictable. You can't always foresee the result, but the outcome is always incredibly interesting and very beautiful. After we've removed the main height and bulk of the material with the e-file, we move on to shaping with the nail file. Actually, calling it shaping is a bit of an overstatement. With the nail file, it's enough to just slightly even out the surface after using the e-file. At the end, be sure to buff everything with a fine buffer to finally smooth out and hide all the edges from the previous filing. And of course, the most satisfying moment is applying the top coat. I fell in love with the hard top because even after a month of wear, the coating stays perfectly glossy and incredibly shiny. Here are these little pencil-shaped nails in the Korean style that I ended up with. Honestly, I don't often work with red shades, but this combination of cool red and warm peach won me over. My model also honestly admitted to me that she had never worn red polish before. Well, I hope you won't regret giving this video a like for this beautiful red.